But non-native speakers, in order for their English to improve, they had to get comfortable speaking with native speakers. So I think that's also something to keep in mind for non-native speakers, is that, if you really want to learn, you really want to improve, then you really have to try to push yourself for this outcome. You really have to try to get over the discomfort to talk to a native speaker. And yeah, a native speaker, a lot of them just simply do not have that motivation, but a lot of them will try if you talk to them. They will try to understand you a little bit. They might give up faster than you would have liked. But at a minimum, if you try with one, it doesn't work out as well, you try with multiple, then chances are some of them will be more interested to talk to you. And then the more you try, the more likely you're going to come across that person who is interested to talk to you. So that way you can then spend the time, to spend more time with that person and hopefully be able to talk to them and, get them to understand what you're saying. And hopefully you can get them to help you along as well. Help tell you, say, hey, okay, so instead of saying what you're saying, you want to say things a little bit differently because that's how we actually say it. Those are the type of people that, the type of native speakers that will be really beneficial for the non-native speakers. So we're kind of getting into the weeds there a little bit, but at a high level, let's go back to the high level part. The high level is that you want to define a goal.
Yeah.
And then you want to be able to measure against the goal. And then obviously you have to overcome your own fear. Because speaking in many ways is somewhat fearful. There's always the question of rejection that happens. And unfortunately, there's just no way to ensure that doesn't happen unless you pay for the services, right?
Yeah, let me just add something. Here, I think it's very important that if you have this kind of experience of learning English without using it, for example, I do have this experience, and also I know a lot of people who do have the same experience. So once you have done it for many years, that fear becomes a lot stronger. Why? Because maybe initially you don't have that kind of fear, but just by doing that for many years, you reinforce that fear constantly. That's why I would always advise to think about that. The years that we're spending in school, just learning English without using it, it might actually reinforce the fear. It might actually bring.
That's very true. Reinforcing of the fear due to lack of use.
So people get used to certain vocabulary. They're getting better in vocabulary part, but the more vocabulary they acquire, the less confident they feel, because I know a lot of words, but I cannot say any of those words, so I cannot understand what native speakers are saying. So.
Yeah, in many ways, let's talk a little bit about how to overcome this fear. Okay. First thing I would say is this: slow down. Okay. I think, of all the non-native speakers that I talk to, people who are not anywhere comfortable yet, one of the things that you will see a lot is that they speed up in the way that they talk. It's almost like that they want to just make sure they dump out everything they're talking, at once, because they are afraid that the thoughts that they have does not get expressed well. I don't know. I think that's probably what it is. But the truth is that the faster you speak, the harder it is for others to understand you. You probably find that sometimes I speak too fast, even though you're nodding away. But the thing is that even when native speakers, when they speak fast, it becomes harder for people to understand. So this is a very key part, is that in order for you to overcome your fear, you have to be able to slow down. Now, the second part of overcoming your fear, obviously, you just have to start to talk to another person. But assuming that you're starting to do that, then it is to find ways. How would I say this? Find more words.
I would say find ways to use the language. Find the context. Find something useful. Find something interesting. Find relevant words, I would say.
That's true. I think in the beginning, a lot of people is gonna fumble around. So, for example, until you're getting used to how to use a particular word, you're going to be spending time like say, what's the word that's in my head? I don't know how to say this, things like that, right? So in many ways, what happens is that people are trying to express a concept at the same level as their native language. You know, so they're trying to find the equivalent words for another word. But when I say find more words, it's kind of like this. So, for example, instead of saying, you know, I need a dictionary, maybe this word is very big. I don't know. Some people might not have learned this word. And even if they have learned it, they might not necessarily use that immediately. So instead of saying, I need a dictionary, say something like, I need the book that has all the words inside them and contains their meanings. Right?
Yeah.
So saying it like that, using a phrase instead of using words, then others will understand that you're asking for a dictionary, even though you don't know what that word is yet. So a lot of time this is how native speakers do it as well. Sometimes we want to say the word, but we have brain fart. So that word doesn't come out, then we'll be like, oh, what is that word? What am I trying to say? And
this is yet another reason why school fails to educate us in languages, because we are usually given a set of phrases and we just keep reciting them. Okay, so this is the right phrase. Okay, let's recite it. But first of all, it doesn't stick into brain because just recital doesn't mean much. But the second thing is we are afraid of saying the same thing in different words. And this is something that I learned from my experience. I started to improve my own English skills when I started to use this technique. Exactly, I just figured that out for myself. That this is something I should be doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of time people really try to be at the same level as they are in their own language, and that is too hard until you're there, right? So we're talking about how to gradually get there. And finally, it's okay to be I don't want to. I mean,
imperfect.
Right. Bad, imperfect. Whatever the word that is that you want to criticize yourself with. Because people who have fear are fearful of others giving the same criticism. And but first you have to forgive yourself. You really have to be ready to say, it's okay that I'm not that good. And it's okay that I struggle. And it's okay that I'm struggling in front of another person. But let me try to struggle. Let me try to get myself across. But to do that, you have to really forgive yourself for the non-offense that is actually happening. So I agree with that. But I always have like a slightly different perspective on this thing, because not completely different, but I would say that I have a follow-up question, a follow-up idea. I think that it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to be bad, as long as you're trying and improving yourself. Like, for example, your focus is on improvement. Because I actually saw a lot of people who they just assumed that they're bad. They keep going around and just saying to everyone, I'm bad, my English is bad, my English is bad. But I think that, I mean, you can do it for a while, for a little time. But at some point of time, you might have to make a choice. Like, for example, you can keep going and talking that your English is bad, or you can actually start improving it. So if you have a focus, if you are trying, that's very fair. Okay. You do also need to guard yourself against self-indulgence. Right? You cannot just always give yourself the break that you're bad. You actually have to try to improve. But that's hopefully the only type of people who's going to watch our program, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
So, okay. So I think that we have at least answered some of the questions on how to learn English. And hopefully you help someone to try to get better at it.
Yeah, I think it was a very good discussion.
All right.